Hello everybody, this is Al Capone Pujols, and I'm here to tell you why Godfather 1 is the best out of the trilogy. Let's go.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Before I start to talk about one of the greatest movie series of all time, there may be some of you who don't know what the Godfather trilogy is. The first movie was actually based off the book, The Godfather. The director Francis Ford did a great job at displaying what everyone read into the book into reality. We are introduced to the Corleone family, who was ran by Vito Corleone and then later run by his younger son, Michael. You will learn why it didn't go to his eldest later. They are attacked by the other four crime families. The Tattaglias, who are run by Philip Tattaglia, which they're easily the weakest. The Strachys and Cunios, who are basically irrelevant to the story, but they're still stronger. And the Barzinis, ran by Emilio Barzini, who is nearly as smart and as wise as Vito, but still doesn't end up getting the last laugh. The second movie focuses more on Michael's run as Don, as the Corleone family, but we also see how Vito Corleone becomes Vito Corleone, as it takes us back to Vito's journey to America and his rise up to Don. And third movie, well, it's the end of the trilogy. So we see how Michael handled himself at the end of his run, but we also see his nephew rise to Don. But there's also very questionable moments in the movie. The storytelling in each movie is absolutely incredible. It's clear what's going on in the story at all times. Now let's see which movie does it best. The first movie is such a great example of a movie that tells a clear story, but a good story. It has a clear start, middle, and end. There are many great emotions in this film that they portray vividly, which shows us the great storytelling ability that this movie has. Nonetheless, the first movie is a great candidate for winning this category because of its versatility. Now we look into the second movie, where it's two stories in one. We look into Vito's youth, where we see his rise to the powerful Don in New York City, but we also see Michael's reign as Don. We get to see the both in action. When we see Vito in his youth, at first it's unclear until we get a little deeper into his story, and then that's where the movie starts to take off in its greatness. The story is clear from there on. Once the movie shifts to Michael's reign, there are so many emotions that are thrown at us, but the movie still stays on a steady line of telling its story. So the third movie didn't really have much of a story to tell, and if it didn't do it nearly as well as the other two movies. The story they have, it's a clear beginning and end, but then some of the story is very weird, like I said earlier. The most important part of a movie, in my opinion at least, is the plot, which is something, except the third, that is great in the Godfather trilogy. The main plot in Godfather 1 is Vito trying to protect his family from being destroyed and killed. Although he somewhat succeeds in saving his mafia, his actual family will take a huge hit with losing his eldest son, who would have become Don, Santino Corleone. That's where Michael steps up and becomes Don, eliminating every family after Vito dies of natural causes. The Godfather 2 plot is interesting but also very vague. We see Vito's rise to Don, and we see how Michael handles himself as Don. Also see how he handled his enemies and his traitors. The third movie's plot is seeing Michael control the family as an old man, but we also see his nephew, Santino's son, Vincent, grow into the role as Don of the Corleone family, as he also deals with multiple assassination attempts that he would survive. Now obviously, movies will have unrealistic aspects to it, but in The Godfather, it feels like you're there in the movie, like you're a Corleone yourself. In some ways, people can relate to decisions made in the film. Not exactly these type of decisions exactly in the movie, but in a metaphorical way. The Godfather 1 has so many major decisions that are made in the film that people would obviously relate to, even if it is making someone an offer they can't refuse. But one moment I do want to focus on is when Santino beats up his brother-in-law for hitting his sister. That's something that almost everyone can relate to, and it's real. And if someone messes with your family, you're going to handle them. Now, the second movie doesn't have as many relatable decisions, even if you try to compare it to your own situation. I mean, Michael kills his own brother. That's not something I can relate to or anyone can, but there is a scene where Vito gets revenge on the man who killed his parents and his brother. Now, when it comes to getting revenge on those who did harm to you, I'm sure we could all relate to that decision. The Godfather 3 has the most relatable decisions in all of the movies. Where I want to focus on is where Michael admits to killing his brother, and obviously regrets it. And now, no, I'm not saying I relate to him killing his brother, but he made a mistake, a really huge one. But he made a mistake he regrets. That's something we could all relate to. And finally, the emotion. where even the third movie has a lot of emotion in it. That's something no other movie series can do as good as the Godfather trilogy. You feel a part of the family just after the first movie. Godfather 1 introduces so many emotions to us. We get many entertaining moments like Connie's wedding, sad moments like Michael seeing his wife gets blown up, and moments of true love like Michael's wedding. But one of the most emotional sequences in the movie is Sonny getting assassinated and seeing Vito's reaction to his son's body on the deathbed.
Look how they massacred my boy.
Everyone can say they felt bad for Fredo, which is Vito's second eldest son. He was stepped over. Even though he probably wouldn't have been a good Don either way, it still feels bad to see him like this. In the second movie, Michael decides to assassinate his brother. It breaks everyone's heart, because despite Fredo messing up horribly and betraying the family, he was still a great character. The Godfather 3, despite being the worst movie of the trilogy, it's still a great cinematic piece that has a lot of emotion in the film. It has so many heartbreaking moments, it's so hard to choose one. But at the end of the movie, it's easily the most heartbreaking part of the trilogy. It's where we see Michael Corleone witness his daughter getting shot and killed. Well, thank you for listening to my reasoning of why Godfather 1 is the best of the trilogy, and hopefully I convinced you. Have a great day or night. Deuces.